On a dry weight basis, beef contains about 26% protein. This plant reaches over 40%. It doubles its biomass every 24 to 48 hours. And still, it's treated as pond waste. The explanation isn't biological. It's structural. Protein is treated as a scarce resource. We clear land, grow feed crops, raise animals for years, and accept high costs as unavoidable. But scarcity only exists if biology can't do better. In this case, it already does. There is a plant that converts sunlight into protein faster than any crop humans farm. It grows without soil, without replanting, and without seasons. Its nutritional profile is documented. Its growth rate is measured. And its efficiency is not theoretical. It is observable. Yet, it is not considered food. This video explains what that plant is, how it works, and why a system built around soil, machinery, and recurring inputs has no place for it, despite its advantages. Protein production is slow, resource-intensive, and expensive by design. Livestock requires years of growth, large land areas, constant feed input, and significant water use. Even plant proteins depend on soil, seasonal planting, fertilizer, and harvest cycles. These limits are usually treated as unavoidable biological facts. But they are not universal. Duckweed violates nearly every assumption behind modern protein production. It does not grow in soil. It does not have a planting season. It does not require replanting. It reproduces continuously by division, doubling its biomass every 24 to 48 hours under normal conditions. On a dry weight basis, its protein concentration rivals and often exceeds beef. This is not experimental data or laboratory theory. It has been repeatedly measured in open ponds, controlled tanks, and agricultural trials. If protein efficiency were purely a matter of biology, duckweed would already be a dominant food source. The fact that it is not signals that something other than nutrition or yield is shaping what we eat. Duckweed is a group of tiny floating aquatic plants found on every continent except Antarctica. It belongs to the plant family Lemnaceae and includes genera such as Lemna, Spirodila, and Wolffia. These plants grow on the surface of still or slow-moving freshwater, forming dense green mats that spread rapidly when nutrients are available. Unlike most crops, duckweed does not rely on seeds or flowering cycles. It reproduces almost entirely through vegetative division. Each plant splits into 2, then 4, then 8, creating exponential growth without seasonal limits. This process allows continuous biomass production as long as light, water, and basic nutrients are present. Duckweed has no stems, no true leaves, and minimal structural tissue. Nearly all of its biomass is metabolically active, which explains its unusually high protein concentration. Because it floats, it does not compete for arable land and can grow in ponds, canals, and controlled water systems where conventional agriculture cannot operate. Duckweed's defining advantage is speed. Under favorable conditions, it can double its biomass every 24 to 48 hours. No conventional crop approaches this rate of growth. Most protein crops require months from planting to harvest. Livestock protein requires years. Duckweed produces usable biomass continuously, without planting cycles or downtime. On a dry weight basis, duckweed typically contains between 35 and 45% protein. Some species, particularly Wolffia, exceed that range. Beef averages around 26% protein on a dry weight basis. Soybeans average about 36%. Duckweed matches or surpasses both, while growing orders of magnitude faster. Yield comparisons make the difference clearer. In controlled systems, duckweed can produce several tons of protein per hectare per year, far exceeding soy and dramatically outperforming animal agriculture. It achieves this with minimal land use, no soil, and significantly lower water loss because it grows on water surfaces rather than irrigated fields. Its amino acid profile includes lysine and methionine, two essential amino acids often limited in plant-based proteins. From a nutritional and production standpoint, duckweed is not marginal. It is one of the most efficient protein-producing plants ever studied. From a technical perspective, Duckweed checks nearly every box agricultural planners look for. It grows rapidly, produces high protein yields, and does not depend on arable land. Because it floats, it can be cultivated in ponds, reservoirs, and controlled water systems that do not compete with food crops. It requires no tilling, no replanting, and no seasonal scheduling. Duckweed also converts nutrients into biomass with exceptional efficiency. Nearly all of the plant is edible, with little structural waste. Its shallow growth layer allows uniform access to sunlight, and its rapid reproduction enables continuous harvesting rather than single annual yields. In integrated systems, duckweed can be paired with wastewater treatment, absorbing excess nitrogen and phosphorus while producing usable protein. From a food security standpoint, these traits are ideal. High output, low input, minimal land use, and year-round production align with nearly every efficiency metric used in modern agriculture. On paper, duckweed appears to be a near-perfect protein crop. The fact that it remains absent from mainstream food systems suggests the limiting factor is not biology or productivity, but something external to the plant itself. Modern agriculture is built around soil, machinery, and fixed harvest cycles. Crops are planted in rows, treated uniformly, harvested at once, dried, stored, and transported over long distances. Duckweed does not fit this model. It grows on water, spreads irregularly, and produces biomass continuously rather than in a single harvest window. Harvesting duckweed at scale creates mechanical problems. Conventional equipment is designed for solid ground, not floating biomass. Duckweed mats clog machinery and require frequent removal. Because the plant contains a high percentage of water, it must be processed or dried immediately after harvest. Delays lead to rapid spoilage, increasing energy use and costs. Storage and transport present additional constraints. Fresh duckweed degrades quickly, and drying it into stable forms requires infrastructure not used for standard crops. These factors make duckweed difficult to integrate into existing agricultural supply chains. The issue is not that duckweed cannot be grown efficiently. It is that current farming systems are not designed to handle a crop that grows continuously, floats on water, and resists standardization. Beyond mechanics, economics determines which crops survive. Modern agriculture depends on recurring inputs: seeds, fertilizers, chemicals, equipment, and fuel. Profitable crops fit into this cycle. Duckweed does not. Once established, it reproduces indefinitely. There is no annual seed purchase and no dependency on hybrid varieties. That alone removes a major revenue stream. Duckweed also bypasses large parts of the agricultural supply chain. It can be grown locally, harvested continuously, and consumed near the point of production. This reduces the need for long-distance transport, storage, and centralized processing. From a business perspective, fewer transactions mean fewer opportunities for profit. Seed companies, input suppliers, and large distributors have little incentive to promote a crop that cannot be patented, controlled, or sold repeatedly. Protein markets are structured around livestock and annual feed crops that require constant reinvestment. Duckweed competes directly with those systems while eliminating many of their costs. As a result, it is filtered out not by regulation or prohibition, but by an economic structure that favors inputs over efficiency. Although absent from mainstream human diets, duckweed is not unused. It is widely studied and applied in animal feed systems, particularly in aquaculture and poultry production. Fish and ducks consume it readily, converting it into meat and eggs with high feed efficiency. In these systems, duckweed functions as a low-cost, high-protein feed rather than a finished food. Duckweed is also used in wastewater treatment and nutrient recovery. Municipal and agricultural facilities grow it to absorb excess nitrogen and phosphorus, reducing pollution while producing biomass. In some regions, this biomass is dried and reused as fertilizer or feed, closing nutrient loops that conventional agriculture leaves open. Human consumption exists, but remains limited. In parts of Southeast Asia, species such as wolfia are eaten as vegetables. Research institutions continue to evaluate duckweed as a human protein source, focusing on safety, processing, and taste. Its current role reflects acceptance where efficiency matters, and exclusion where cultural and industrial norms dominate. Global protein demand is rising while the resources used to produce it are becoming more limited. Arable land is under pressure from urbanization and soil degradation. Water scarcity is increasing in many agricultural regions. At the same time, climate volatility is making seasonal, soil-based farming less predictable. These constraints expose weaknesses in protein systems that rely on long growth cycles, heavy inputs, and centralized supply chains. Duckweed addresses several of these limits directly. It produces protein rapidly without soil, allowing cultivation on water surfaces that are currently used for food production. Its growth rate reduces exposure to climate risk because biomass is generated continuously rather than tied to a single harvest. Nutrient efficiency lowers fertilizer demand, and local production reduces transport and storage losses. The relevance is not theoretical. As protein prices rise and environmental costs become harder to ignore, systems that deliver high output with minimal inputs gain importance. Duckweed does not replace all protein sources, but it challenges the assumption that protein must be slow, land-intensive, and expensive. Its continued exclusion highlights a gap between what is biologically possible and what current food systems are structured to support. Duckweed exposes a core limitation of modern food systems. Agricultural success is not determined solely by biological efficiency, but by compatibility with existing infrastructure. Crops are selected not just for yield or nutrition, but for how well they integrate into machinery markets and supply chains built around annual cycles and standardized inputs. Duckweed performs exceptionally on biological metrics. It grows faster than any conventional crop, produces high-quality protein, and requires minimal land and water. Yet these advantages conflict with systems designed for soil-based planting, seasonal harvests, and centralized processing. Efficiency at the plant level does not guarantee acceptance at the system level. This distinction explains why duckweed remains marginal despite decades of research. It does not fail because it lacks value. It fails because it does not align with the economic and mechanical assumptions that define modern agriculture. Recognizing this difference matters. It shifts the conversation away from searching for better biology and toward questioning whether current food systems are structured to use the most efficient solutions available. Duckweed does not fail because it lacks nutrition, speed, or efficiency. It fails because it does not fit a food system built around soil, machinery, and recurring purchases. Biology solved protein production. Our systems chose something else. Understanding that difference matters because it changes how we evaluate food, efficiency, and scarcity. If this explanation changed how you think about protein and farming, subscribe to the channel. We focus on real solutions biology already provides, but modern systems ignore.